It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
You know what I've realized? I've realized since covering Arkansas politics that the citizens of the great state of Arkansas are clamoring. They are demanding assisted suicide legislation. Hopefully you can pick up my sarcasm. There's been a bill filed by the one, the only State Representative Dan Douglas of Bentonville, HB 1536, that would legalize physician-assisted suicide in Arkansas. Yes, Joe, I know. It's it's what everybody's been picketing for out there. Here to talk more about this, we have the Director of Governmental Affairs for the Family Council. Mr. Ken Yang is back on the program. Ken, how you doing this morning?
Good. Oh, that was such a good Johnny Cash song.
Yeah, it is. It's one of, Roseanne Running Wild. It's a good one. Ken, talk to me a little bit. Like, what is the Family Council? Could you guys believe it when you saw that Dan Douglas filed a bill on assisted suicide?
You know, we had actually heard rumors that there were a couple of Republican state reps that were thinking about doing something like this. And we were just, maybe they'll think better because of the state we live in. We already have a law banning physician-assisted suicide. And we were going to do a resolution to reaffirm our belief in being against physician-assisted suicide. And then, lo and behold, Representative Douglas files this. And he really files this literally a couple days after he goes to the well to speak in favor of, honestly, late-term abortion. And when he's at the well talking about, what if so-and-so suffering, and what's odd is he makes the example of, well, there have been babies that have survived, but there have been babies that haven't. But he's not the arbiter. He's not, we're not here to play God.
Yeah.
And, it kind of makes sense that he would file this after going up there and practically endorsing physician-assisted suicide in regards to a baby. So why wouldn't he support physician-assisted suicide in regards to someone near the end of their life?
Yeah, it's fascinating because, he is a member of the Republican Party, and this is the, really low-hanging fruit, this pro-life issue. I mean, it's this most serious issue we face, but it is something that generally we all agree on. And when he went down to talk against Senator Rapert's bill that would ban abortion in Arkansas in the event Roe versus Wade is overturned, he maintained he was speaking against it because it goes too far. He maintained that he was still pro-life. Like you said, Ken, there are babies who are diagnosed with this, that, or the other that are told that, they're not going to survive, but then they do survive. Then there are also miracles that happen, I believe. And so under Dan Douglas's, I guess, in his opinion, we're just going to discount the possibility that a miracle can actually happen and the baby can survive and live a normal life.
Yeah, and let's make it clear. I mean, people want to throw around the term pro-life, and in this instance, in Representative Douglas' instance, he needs to understand that when you say that you're pro-life, that means you protect life from conception to natural death. And in both instances now, he does not fit that mold.
Wow. Yeah, that's you're exactly right. Natural death, not assisted suicide. Let me just see. Do I have the bill pulled up here? I have it. Yeah, I have it here. It is HB 1536, an act to create the Compassionate Care End of Life Opinion Act. Now, this is I know we keep going to Dan Douglas going down to the well. He had a personal story of I guess his niece who was pregnant, who had a tough pregnancy, but he kept saying things like, we need to be pro-humanity when it comes to taking the life. And so it seems that to me is not humanity at all. I mean, I guess I've never seen a Republican be so completely 180 degrees off of what the mainstream of their party is.
Yes, I mean this is not pro humanity. This is just honestly and fundamentally disrespectful towards innocent human life. I mean, it's just disrespectful. There's no other way to say it. This bill is honestly is worse than terrible. It's within the title. It legalizes physician-assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It legalizes euthanasia in Arkansas. It legalizes what Jack Kevorkian was put in jail for.
Good grief. You are exactly right. And it says here it's an act to create the Compassionate Care End of Life Option Act to exempt prescribing or dispensing of a medication for self-administration by a patient under the Compassionate Care End of Life Option Act from the definition of physician-assisted suicide. Mm-hmm. So, and I saw a few media reports on this, and they're not using the term assisted suicide from what I can tell. And I feel like that's key here because most people know what assisted suicide is and they're against it. Yes,
correct. And it's just unfortunate. And, we have sometimes there's some liberal media outlets that obviously support physician-assisted suicide because the states that do have it are typically in the West Coast, like Oregon, Hawaii, California. And this bill is even worse than some of those states that do have physician-assisted suicide.
Oh, my goodness. So, I mean, obviously, this bill is, you would think, going to go down in flames. But I don't know. I mean, when Dan Douglas presents this bill, is he going to have, I would presume, stories of people who are older, who suffered and wanted to die but weren't allowed to die, weren't allowed to take their lives. I mean, is that what's going to happen? Or I hope there's some motion that's made to just immediately consider this, or a motion do not pass or something. I mean, it needs to just not even be. It's a waste of time to even bring this up.
Yeah, this deserves. For those that don't know how committee works at the Capitol, the worst thing that can happen to your bill is the motion do not pass, and I mean, this honestly deserves that. But I think you'll have stories, but the American Family Association has already come out against this bill, and I think there are people in the palliative care community that are looking at it, and some that not all of them, but some will probably come out and be against it, and you're practically changing the profession of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
That you're supposed to. I mean, I talked to a state rep the other day. I said, are we really ready to have doctors where you go in when you're towards the end of your life thinking, ooh, is this doctor really trying to cure me and heal me? Or is this doctor trying to kick me down the road as quickly as possible and put me to death? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the route we're going. And I don't want to have a doctor where I'm wondering, am I, costing the doctor way too much money and affecting their bottom line?
Listen to this. We're talking with Ken Yang. He's the Director of Governmental Affairs for the Family Council. You can find out more at familycouncil.org. Matter of fact, I'm reading an article that's up at familycouncil.org right now, headline Assisted Suicide Legislation Filed in Arkansas. One part of this article, Ken, under HB 1536, Christian hospitals, hospices, and healthcare facilities would not be able to stop doctors who work for them from prescribing suicide drugs to their patients. Is that true?
Correct. There's no provision currently in the bill as is that lets hospitals, hospices, or any other healthcare facility to prohibit their employees from taking part in physician-assisted suicide.
Wow. Well, I mean, it should be dead on arrival, but I just couldn't believe this. I mean, listen. State Representative Dan Douglas is a really colorful guy, and but. For 2 weeks in a row, he speaks against a bill to outlaw abortion in Arkansas, which is what Arkansas's Constitution prescribes, if Roe versus Wade is overturned. And then he files an assisted suicide. To me, this is a story because this is something that, Republicans obviously can disagree on tax increases. I mean, in my opinion, they shouldn't, but they clearly are. It's something that happens, right? But they don't really disagree on being pro-life, from what I have found. We're the second most pro-life state in the nation, and so for a Republican to come out and speak against and then file assisted suicide, so you can kill old people, it's just mind-boggling to me, Ken.
And look, I mean, and if you delve into the bill itself, once the prescription of the drugs has been approved, there only needs to be the actual patient doesn't have to be the one to pick it up from the pharmacist. It can be anyone that's determined to be associated with the patient that picks it up from the pharmacist. And so who's to say what are they going to do with that prescription? We hear horror stories all the time on the West Coast of people going to pick up that prescription and the patient changes their mind and like, well, nope, sorry, and they put them to death. But there's just so many. I mean, it's just bad in general. But this thing is worse than any bill that you've seen around the country. And I've been on their show a lot. And I'm typically more jovial, more just happy in general. But this is honest. This honestly makes me angry that someone who's a Republican, because I'm a Republican, would file something this egregious.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I think the entire state, or the entire Republican Party, with the exception of State Representative Dan Douglas, would agree. So anyway, Ken Yang with Family Council, really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us this morning and shedding light on this important issue that needs to be this needs to be killed, no pun intended, immediately.
Yes, and we're going to do our best to do so.
All righty. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. You can find that article, folks. It's up at familycouncil.org. And Ken, it's always great to have Ken on the program.